A very warm welcome to you out there for joining us on this special edition of the show, AIT INFOTECH NETWORK, and I am Bayo Banjo. To join the show, you can now log on to tmconline.com.ng, click on Cyber Africa. That is to show you that you can no longer miss any of our show. And simply, again, you can text the number on your screen or email me, bayero@aitinfotechnetwork.com. But first, we take you through some of the issues that will excite you before we take you on Tech Impact with MTN. Stay with us. This is AIT INFOTECH NETWORK, and I am Bayo Banjo. And now we take you on our Tech Impact, where we x-ray issues and development that made news in the past week, as compiled by Francisca Nana. Stay with us.
Life, apps and flowers. There is no better place than this land of ours. From Cape Town to Cairo, there's beauty all around. Loving each other, it's like one big town. This place is connected, it's a treasure chest. From north to south, we're the best.
Welcome to the new world. It's a new day now. Welcome to the new world.
Microsoft is teaming with Chinese telecom Huawei to sell a low-cost Windows-powered smartphone in Africa. The phones, according to Microsoft, will initially cost about $150 and will be sold in 7 countries, including Nigeria, South Africa, Morocco, and Egypt, under the For Africa initiative. To this end, Microsoft Nigeria says it is aimed at increasing adoption of smart devices in the continent. Africa's smartphone market has reportedly grown at an average of 43% a year since 2000, with Nigeria at the center of this growth. In sub-Saharan Africa, 10% of the 450 million cell phone users have smartphones, but that number is expected to rise, says the New York Times.
Africa has great potential. It's been mentioned multiple times by multiple organizations and people. The question is, what are we doing for it? Most organizations are waiting for that potential to be realized. We decide to think differently. We decide to innovate around our business model and invest in that promise of Africa.
If the promise of these two tech giants is anything to go by, then by 2016, about 1 million African SMEs would be online. 100,000 members of Africa's existing workforce would have been upskilled, and an additional 100,000 graduates will be groomed for employment. Over the last decade, Africa has experienced unparalleled economic growth, putting the continent on a pedestal to become the next growth frontier. Development experts predict that economies in Africa will continue to grow at an average of 6%, even when the rest of the world is currently facing a slump in economic growth, with technology playing a key role. 3 years after implementing the glide path interconnection rates for voice services in the Nigerian telecom sector, the industry regulator NCC is set to review interconnection rates yet again. The current rate of 8 Naira 20 Kobo was determined in 2009, and it was the first time the Commission implemented the glide path asymmetric rates that allowed cost differentials in terminating rates.
Having gone through the rigorous process from industry statistical data collections, analysis and population into the cost models, the Commission is pleased to present to the industry the final draft report and
Presenting the final draft report on the interconnection cost model proposed by the NCC, its consultant, PricewaterhouseCoopers UK, say the model will stimulate investment and competition in the industry.
Interconnection rates can be set in many ways, and indeed the history of setting interconnection rates in Nigeria reflected some of these mechanisms.
After 3 hours of intense deliberation on the draft, the operators and the regulator did not reach a consensus. While the smaller operators want the current model maintained, the big operators are pushing for a model that allows uniform call termination rate.
Clearly, we at AIT INFOTECH believe that asymmetry is a critical element in order to maintain healthy competition in the marketplace going forward.
What the CDMAs were saying is that they don't have the volume that the bigger GSMs have. So the rates that they used will not match what the CDMAs will use. So that's what their fear is. And then with the clearinghouse, we have a slightly different position because we offer a different service from the CDMAs. So, but I see their position. I can't really say much about it because, again, the SEC is who will make the final decision on it. But there needs to be something done to kind of keep the industry going.
But beyond their differences is the underlying question of what the telecom subscribers stand to gain from a review or otherwise of the current interconnection rate for voice call.
Well, if it is lowered, if the determination lowers the interconnection rate, a service provider will probably like to pass on the reduced rate to the subscribers, and this will bring down prices.
The onus now lie on the regulator to act right by ensuring that the views of stakeholders are taken into consideration before the new interconnection rate regime begins, to ensure that the gains of the industry are not reversed. Interconnection rate for voice refers to the charges one telecoms operator charges to another for terminating calls. This termination, therefore, is one of the determinants of call tariffs.
The direct link between interconnection termination rates and the subscriber is that the tariff you pay as a subscriber is indirectly linked to the termination rate.
This Valentine's season, spoil yourself and that special someone with the all-new MTN Shine Valentine Pack. Each Valentine pack comes with 2 phones for just 4,000 naira, so you can talk more, laugh more, and love more while sharing the most memorable moments with your loved ones. So go ahead and let the love shine. Welcome to the new world. Available at MTN stores.
MTN, welcome to the new world.
The transformation witnessed in the financial sector in Nigeria today is not a peculiar one. World over, the upsurge in the consumption of IT is constantly placing a huge demand on organizations and innovators. Perhaps that is why Bayo Banjo of Computer Warehouse Group say electronic transactions have overtaken traditional banking, making the financial sector one of the largest consumers of technology.
Today, technology has changed the way we work. I mean, that means basically you can work anywhere, anytime at your convenience.
But Bayo Banjo is not alone in this thinking. Sheldon Hand of Symantec underscores the demand occasioned by these IT solutions. Demands which, according to him, has constantly put enterprises on their toes, as nearly every click of a button for a transaction either on your PC, ATM, mobile phone or a POS machine adds up the data of your bank.
There's a lot more devices. If you look at the nature of the data on those devices, it's very graphical, it's very feature rich, so the size of the data files are quite big, and so this is causing our data to grow at approximately 60% per annum, which means every 2 years our data is doubling. This obviously has a tremendous impact on our costs.
But while banks work to do more with the vast amounts of data they have about customers, channels and transactions, they also adopt technologies that allow them store data in the cloud, on devices and in virtual environments, all aimed at effective data storage and management. Abegunde speaks again.
For banks, the growth in data, that data is being stored and is being used to run the business. mainly around for analytics and also compliance reasons. I'll give you an example. You went to the ATM and you put in your card and it didn't work and it debits you. The bank needs to keep that transaction. So when you go to the bank, they can check and say, okay, madam, this came here, put in an ATM, didn't collect money, but the machine debited them. Another interesting thing on the ATM is that ATM has cameras. It takes 5 pictures, so they know that it is you that came to use the ATM. Because at times, your brother can steal your ATM card and go and use the ATM. So now, that singular transaction on that ATM has elicited 1 transaction to take out money and 5 pictures which needs to be stored.
However, one thing is clear, that is cyber criminals. As technological solutions evolve, cyber criminals also continue to discover new vulnerabilities and attack on a sophisticated note. The question now needing urgent answer is, how would these banks stay ahead of cyber criminals? Sidney Sheldon of Symantec proposed some strategies.
Most banks want to, look to achieve, cost-to-income ratios of about 40%. Having, reliable online banking systems via the internet is a key component in being able to deliver world-class banking services at a much lower cost.
At this event put together by Computer Warehouse Group and Symantec, it was agreed that a new cashless policy of the CBN called for more efficient, cost-cutting and reliable technologies from banks. This, they say, is one sure way to give customers confidence and reliability.
So remember me today. You don't call, you don't SMS, you don't even...
Baby, just call or SMS and I'll pay with MTN Collect Plus.
Introducing MTN Collect Plus. Call or SMS while the receiver pays. For calls, simply dial *121* before the receiver's number and hash. For SMS, text 38701 and the receiver's number. MTN.
You're welcome to this segment of the program on AIT INFOTECH Network, where we'll voices to the issues that may frontline in the ICT industry. And today our focus is the place of the consumer and the small entrepreneur in the Nigeria ICT space, with the Comtech Ministry, the regulator, and now that we're talking about celebrating the Nigerians' centenary. I have in the studio the president of the Nigeria Airnet Group, Engineer Bayo Banjo. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And I also have in the studio the president of Teledom International and also a former president of the Association of Telecoms Companies of Nigeria. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let's start with quality of service. The last interview I had with either the minister and the regulator, that is Engineer Jua, he clearly stated that internet or data service is purely very, very bad. And now we are moving towards broadband. Do you think that the problems plaguing the voice industry right now that makes it very difficult for us to have reliable voice communication will not plague the same data service when we have broadband services?
Well, I mean, it is natural in any society that when effective sanctions are not well applied, there will be laxity. I think this is a general form that applies to everything. I always put it this way, the same Nigerian that misbehaves in this country, drives on the wrong side of the road, abuses police and does what he likes, immediately he lands in London. He's a model citizen. He behaves himself. So it's not that they don't know what to do. The point is that if you don't have effective sanctions and monitoring in a society, quality of service can never improve.
So how does sanction affect power supply, vandalism and cable theft?
Well, first of all, there are countries particularly in the Middle East, very vast countries, where a lot of their infrastructure is powered solely by generators or some alternative power. Vandalism, well, let's look at that very carefully. That can be used as an excuse, particularly outside Lagos. But in an area of Lagos and, let's say, Abuja, where there's a certain level of security, I don't think that could be used as a major excuse.
Dr. Ekuwem, do you agree with that?
Yeah, let me react this way. Thank you. What were the factors that were responsible for the low quality of service within the narrowband arena, within the voice arena? As far as I'm concerned, one is the tendency of the operators to bite more than they can chew, bringing a large number of subscribers to their networks, not minding the amount of the capacity that they have in the network. I would put it this way: if you want to pass through that door, and that door was meant for only one person at a time, and you want to bring, because of the kind of profit they are bringing to you, you want to pass 10 people at the same time through that door, you're going to have congestion. So the same thing will apply to data services. I say plug and pray, okay, or you plug and play. So the indiscipline, the greed, the insufficient sensitivity to the feelings of subscribers, of consumers, to give service of high quality based on available capacity would also plague broadband or data services. So operators must be disciplined to make sure that they can only give what they have based on the capacity that they have.
Everything seems to just push towards NCC, who's supposed to regulate the infrastructure and all other things. But we have not seen, the bite coming from the Consumer Protection Council, whose statutory, whatever it is, to actually see that the end user gets a better service.
Yeah, but the point is, have they been given teeth and the permission to bite?
It's an agency of government.
Yes, but what sanctions can they apply?
Particularly set up to
do
do
they
this.
have what you see, they can bite.
Yeah.
Sorry, they can only bite. They can only punish as Consumer Protection Council when they have the resources to detect that the quality of service is low. So between NCC and the Consumer Protection Council, who has the tools to detect low quality of service and therefore punish accordingly or punish appropriately? It is the NCC. So even if the Consumer Protection Council is to come into play here, then he must acquire the resources to be able to monitor, be able to detect the departure from the normal and punish accordingly. But within the Telecom Act and within the purview of capability and competencies to do that business, the Nigerian Communications Commission had the human resources, had the material resources to monitor networks.
Okay, so in the beginning of our discussion, you both hinted at sanctions. Yes. But we have seen the NCC in recent times really coming out smoking, biting, through sanctions and all that. You suggested that Bayo Banjo, that those sanctions were just mere pancake.
Those are not sanctions. Those are mere jokes. I mean, why
do you call them jokes?
Because let me give an example. Let's say you were to find a big operator, 300 million. That sounds very large to all of us. And this big operator has 40 million subscribers. That translates to 8 naira. Let me repeat again. 8 naira per subscriber. Is that a punishment? You see, when a sanction means it will have an effect, right? The person regards it as a punishment. Now, if you were to apply the punishments they do in banks, where you have an erring official, he's either removed or a person is in fact forced to divest from the business or banned from entering the business, then of course they'll take it seriously. If a letter was given to an operator from the NCC to correct this, and it's ignored, and that CEO or whoever knew the NCC has a power to sack him, he will sit up and look at the letter.
But don't forget, most of the CEOs you have in all of these telcos,
wait, may I add
all
something?
employed.
May I add something? You see, why we're copying these sanctions is because they work abroad. You see, if you find a company £300 million in the United States or in the UK, when it comes for the general meeting, the shareholders remove the CEO. So we picked a sanction that cannot work here because we haven't seen through the process of the sanction.
But Dr. Ekuwem, what's your take on this? Are the sanctions not good enough to deter the operators?
Sanctions for doing what? Sanctions for having committed an offense. Was this offense deliberate? The answer is yes. If it was deliberate, what was the benefit, the economic benefits that accrued to the operator? So I'll give you a very simple example. If for committing an offense, simple analogy, please accept my apologies here.
Yes.
If I hit you, all right, and the policeman arrest me for having hit you, but when I was hitting you, journalists like you covered my hitting you, and from the paparazzi I made 1 million naira, okay, for hitting you, and they covered my hitting you, and then I'm taken to the police station, and the police said, look, why did you hit such a first-class Nigerian journalist like Bayo Banjo? The punishment is 50,000 naira. I have made a profit of 1 million naira from the paparazzi. So what is my net profit? 1 million minus 50,000. So I have now around 50,000 naira. So it's as profit. So therefore, when the punishment is infinitesimally small in comparison with the profit, I will enjoy hitting you because it's good business for me to hit you.
So in one word, the sanction is an encouragement.
No, let me put it this way. In one word, the punishment meted out is abysmally small in comparison with the profit made. It is only when punishment wipes out your profit made from an offense and even forces you to dip your hands into your pocket and spend more, then will it discourage you. Number two, I agree with Banjo totally. We have to learn. The laws were made for men, all right? The Bible says that not man for the law. So we can always amend the act, we can always amend the regulations, and always evolve, all right? So we should learn to remove the corporate veil.
In Nigeria, we have seen young men and women try to come up with smaller businesses, and before you know it, they go off. Government, in its wisdom, has come up with Galaxy Backbone to help aggregate, government consumption of ICTs and all that. Has Galaxy coming into the fray, of data provision, helped the entrepreneur in this sector or innovation in this sector?
No, I think most operators are, if they're taking any services, it's from the likes of like Main One or Sky Vision or other satellite services. In fact, I've not really heard of anyone using Galaxy per se. The first thing that anyone in business shies away from is when a supplier of any service can just arbitrarily either alter, cancel, or do what they like without any consequence. And as such, nobody really would want to patronize a government institution unless it's a monopoly. And that is the bottom line.
Doctor, what's your take on this?
Galaxy Backbone must be seen within the context of its origin, the thinking that led to it, and that was during the Obasanjo regime. When a government-owned agency is competing with companies within the private sector, then there is no playing field. There's no level playing field for the small company to play. Two, know this very clearly. Those instances you've cited, the Dells of this world, the Microsoft of this world, the HPs of this world, the Googles of this world, as Banjo said, good regulatory environment, law-abiding environment, and ability of the system to punish even the mighty. Their might is not right. It is right that is might.
As it is, right now there's an imbalance in regulation. That means the bigger operators are being taken advantage of the smaller operators. So what does it portend for the nation? I'll take it from you.
Well, it'll keep Nigeria backward.
That's correct.
To me, it's a terrible situation. You see, we have to get our things straight. If we cannot protect the small operator, it's paramount to destroying your nation. You must give an entrepreneur that comfort zone, that his idea, he can benefit from his idea, and then you will see them coming out of the woodwork. So the bottom line is simple: government is not ready to enforce regulations and laws.
What are the real things you think should be in place to help the younger entrepreneurs?
The engine room of any national economy is the SME subsector. About 63 to 77% of the workforce and the job creators in the U.S. come from the SME subsector or the SME group, so to say. The same thing applies to Nigeria. So when we talk about our own sector, which is ICT, the young companies, the young entrepreneurs, the young innovators, they fall into that group. You see, we often say that the Stone Age, the Stone Age did not come to an end because of lack of stones. The Stone Age came to an end because of the discovery of new forms of engineering materials. Keep that at the back of your mind. So in our SME, in our ICT industry, those who create ideas, those who are very innovative, those who are imaginative, those who are bubbling with energy, with dreams, are these young companies. And if any nation wants to grow, wants to survive, wants to develop, all right, it must make sure that that segment of every sector of its economy, be it in petroleum, be it in ICT, be it in agriculture, be it in whatever, in medicine or in health, that segment is protected.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that is the show for the week. If you have any comments or suggestions, please send them to Bayero at AIT INFOTECH NETWORK.com, or better still, you can text the number on your screen. Before I go, special thanks to MTN for the ride. Bye-bye for now.